up, I did want to go a few through around the country. If there's any that you remember that you feel like I'm missing, feel free to call them out as well. I'm going to start with quarterback Bo Bentley, a guy that Georgia was involved with that had Georgia not gotten Jared Curtis, Bo Bentley would have probably been the quarterback that Georgia pursued, and I think Georgia would have found a way to land Bo Bentley. Didn't have to happen. His first love was Oklahoma. LSU was certainly in the mix for a while, but I think when it came down to it, after official visit season, the way that he had been prioritized by Oklahoma from start to finish, won out. A couple of guys from both of our predict-to-commit teams where we got some negative news this week. Alabama offensive lineman Chris Booker, our offensive line commit Chris Booker, he shut down his recruitment. I think that Alabama did a great job there after Georgia and Georgia Tech and many others really realized how good of a player Chris Booker was this spring. I think Alabama kind of already knew what they had. Tyron Woreram does flip from UCF, but not to Georgia, to Michigan State. You know, you heard what I said earlier when we were talking about Georgia and 3 wide receivers. 100% a name that I am still keeping an eye on this fall as a possibility. I think that if Georgia gets to the point where they can take 4, or things get interesting again with Brady Marchese or however it might play out, like Tyron Woreram is a name that I am not losing touch with. Let's put it that way. And then Vodney Cleveland, defensive lineman from Alabama that you had on your predict to commit team. Got interesting there with Florida and Texas late, but he commits to Texas. Texas doing a great job when it comes to defensive line recruiting. A couple of guys that ended up at Florida State. Jaden O'Neal, quarterback, took a visit to Georgia at one point this year. Xavier Tiller, an in-state tight end who Georgia really never pursued hard, but someone that I think would have liked to have been recruited more by Georgia had he been given the opportunity. Xavier Tiller. And then Devin Carter took an official visit to Georgia. Yet another name that I would put in that Tyron Woreram camp of we have to keep watching it. We can't stop watching wide receivers that Georgia brought in on official visits now that they're at other places, because if Georgia gets an extra spot, they're going to make a push for some guys. Devin Carter flips from Auburn to Florida State. Not really a surprise either. When we had Ryan Mosley on a couple of weeks ago, it might have been actually after we got finished recording, but he basically said right after that, he was like, yeah, I think he's going to flip, but I think it's going to be to Florida State, not to Auburn. Titan Davis, a defensive lineman that Georgia wasn't in the Final Four for. I bring Titan Davis up because I was told by someone that I trust that scouts these things that they believe that Titan Davis is the best, 5-tech defensive end type in this cycle, and not enough people are really talking about that. He's a guy that very easily could have ended up at Alabama. I think people should be happy that he ended up at Michigan, not at Alabama, because I think Titan Davis is a really great player that not enough people are talking about. And then some quarterback dominoes. Oregon's been trying to figure their situation out. Ryder Lyons, 5-star quarterback, commits to BYU. They end up having to figure something out. I don't know about you, Jordan. This feels sacrilegious to me. Bryson Beaver commits to Oregon. Can you have the name Bryson Beaver as a quarterback recruit and commit to Oregon over Oregon State? I mean, I know where they're at in the world these days, but Bryson Beaver, he can't be at Oregon.
It's borderline sacrilegious, and I kind of want to call it on the Oregon State staff. What are you guys doing? This might as well have been a firstborn, and you can't get him, man.
Yeah, well, they definitely got screwed in this new world of college football. There's no question about that. That Oregon State got the short end of the stick, but Oregon, they were in the Jared Curtis sweepstakes that had them involved with all sorts of different quarterbacks because they didn't get Jared Curtis, and I think that Dan Lanning finally finds his guy in Bryson Beaver.